Hello there, Scott here from Hearns Hobbies. Today we're talking about gluing tyres. So this is the Yokomo supplied glue that we have in stock here at Hearns Hobbies and probably at Hobbyman as well. Very, very good stuff. It actually comes in like a foil pack too to help protect it from the elements like heat and cold and everything, because tyre glue can go off. I've had that happen when I've travelled to Thailand for a big race meeting, and the glue doesn't adhere to the tyre and then it comes off the rim, and you don't want that because that costs you a race. So we're going with this really good stuff. So we're going to go with trying to glue up some touring car rims, inserts and tyres. So one of the first processes to do is always make sure that you check around on the bead. Make sure that it is clean and that there's no sort of casting areas or anything. These sweep tyres seem to look pretty spot on. Also check your insert. You can get lots of different inserts, like a harder insert for higher grip tracks for like carpet or tracks that have been sugar watered, but these are like a medium insert, so work very good on our asphalt outdoor tracks. And then of course your rim. So of course these are the sweep rims. Again, just make sure that there's no casting errors or anything there. It looks all really good. So the next step from here, which I always do, is grab any type of brake cleaner. It's always good to clean the actual rubber surface around on that bead because there is a little bit of oil residue, and I also like to clean the edge on the rim as well, just to make sure that there's no contamination for the glue. So grab a bit of just cloth, rag, whatever you can find at home, hanky, and just spray a little bit on there, just like so, and then just with the tyre, I just sort of hold it in there like so. Just give it a good spin around. Just give all that bead a good clean. So you can actually see there's like a little bit of residue coming off from when the tyre is actually made. So again, just give it a good spin around. Make sure it's nice and clean. So you can see that's better. Then again, I just hold the rim, push the rag with the brake cleaner in there, and just clean where that bead of the tyre is going to sit, just to make sure there's no contamination there. And same there, just sort of push that rag in, and then just around on that outside edges, because you'll end up getting glue on there. So that should be nice and cleaned and prepared, ready to go. Next step is your insert. So you've got to feed that one into the tyre. Most tyres are pre-glued, but sometimes there is manufacturers that don't pre-glue them, so you've got to have the fun task of putting these in. It's a little bit of a process. You don't want to sort of nick or tear the insert. Once you've got it in there, I just go with 2 fingers like this and then just roll the tyre around, and that'll actually help seat the insert inside the tyre. So you can see sitting in there pretty spot on. Just helps us centre it on both sides. So again, you can just double check to make sure, but yeah, just that good old little spin. Then on the tyre, sometimes the manufacturers will have just like a little casting number on them, and then on one side they'll actually have the brand name of the tyre and what the model is. For some reason I always like to have them facing outside. Don't ask me why, it's just probably my OCD or something, but it's the way I do it, even with off-road tyres. So to slide it on, you feed it in like so, grab onto that edge and the insert so it doesn't fall out, and just sort of work it up onto that first bead, just like so. And then you'll see the other side, the bead's hanging out. Again, just sort of slide and feed that down and in. Just with a little bit of persuading, it does slide in, and then just with your fingers like so, I just give it a little squeeze like that to make sure that you can see that that's seating in absolutely spot on. And then we'll double check this side. So that's looking pretty good, but I still grab it, just spin, turn, make sure that bead's sitting in absolutely perfect. So that's on, ready to go for some gluing action. 2 ways of gluing. You can actually hold the tyre like so and actually sort of pull it open and guide the glue in. It can get messy in that way, so I've brought a little sneaky item that I use. It's an actual gluing jig, so these can be used for mini tyres and touring car. So basically slide your tyre into there, and then with this little fella, you can see it's been used quite a fair bit of glue on it, and then when you push this down, it actually pulls the bead open, so you can sort of wriggle it around, get the bead open and get your glue down into where it's meant to be seating. In saying that, you grab your Yokomo glue. I try and find a point, like on the rim it's actually got sweep engraved on it, so you know that that's your starting point, so as you glue you can actually then sort of spin around, and then you'll know when you're finished when you get back to the sweep. So fingers crossed we don't get glue everywhere. So basically we just very lightly squeeze the bottle. You can actually see the glue coming out, so it's a very slow process, this one. So you can see that glue just fell straight in onto that bead. Again, just turn it a bit more. You can see that glue sort of tracking around on the bead. That's what we want. A little bit more on this side. Again, you can see that tracking around. Just a little bit more on this end. So again, you can see that going in. Sometimes the glue will actually bubble out a little bit like it's done. So it's always good to just pull it out of the little jig. Just give it, again, just another little squeeze just to help settle that glue in around the tyre and onto the rim. Then with your rag, very, very quickly just wipe the edge, so you get any excess glue wiped away. Don't hold the rag on there too long, as you'll end up sticking your rag to the wheel, and that's no good. You can then also, once they're fully dried, you can then even apply like another bead just around on that outside edge if you think it hasn't had enough, but that can get messy and then the glue can actually run off the side. But you just let that sort of sit, or you've got some tyre gluing bands. This is just a normal standard rubber band which does the job. It's just to give it a little bit of grab on the tyre, just to make sure it's seating correctly on the tyre, and that'll hold the bead in until that glue sets. You can use like a zap kicker which sets the glue pretty much instantly. I just like letting them dry naturally like that. If you're outdoor pitting, put them in the sun, they'll be dry in about 5-10 minutes. The final conclusion is, whenever you're racing touring car and if you have a little bit of an accident and you hit the barriers or the pipes, sometimes you can actually break the glue away and the bead away from the rim. So it's always good after every run to just hold the tyre and sort of pull it open like that. If you see any damage, it's always good to sort of pull it to make sure that the actual bead is still glued. If it's pulling away, so when you get your glue again, and then you just apply a little bit to that area that's pulled away. Sometimes it's even good to just do a full light bead right around the whole rim and tyre to make sure that they're still glued, because if you go out with a tyre that's sort of got quarter or even half the tyre unglued, it makes the handling of the car absolutely terrible. So quick little tip, after every run, check them, pull it, all good, put them back on your car and off you go again. So yeah, helpful little tips. Hope everyone's learnt something new today. I sort of practice this whenever I'm racing, especially 1/10 touring car. Same with off-road as well. Always check. If you had some good crashes, check that bead, make sure it's all beautiful and still glued. Hopefully everyone's enjoyed that, and we can do more topics.